When mixing music, I think that everybody has a different approach, at least a tiny bit different from the next person, and this is due to the workflow. But one thing I can tell you for sure is that some things are sure to be good as an advice, since our ears and our brains work a certain way. Meaning that if you want to mix a track, most commonly the best way to go about it is to pull all the tracks in the song down all the way to 0. Let me just select everything, and then just when you pull that down, and now I just pull down the groups just like this. I can even close these. When you pull those down, the most certain way to mix is to mix in, to mix gaining the volume up like that. So I would gain up one element first, and in my case it's all groups of elements, but I would gain one element first. And after that one element, I would start introducing the other one. See, how our brain works is it's gonna be easier to decide if there is enough of that element you just introduced. If you go from 0 up, introducing it from nothing, then maybe introducing too much gain on that element, then pulling down. So usually it's much easier to decide if it's enough of it if you're going upwards with the gain control and not downwards. So not attenuating the element into the mix, but actually gaining and boosting the gain of the element into the mix until it's enough. Now also another thing you can do, because most often than not you are going to have all the elements playing, you will, at the end of the entire mix be asking yourself, okay, so one of these things might be too loud, and you would have to decide if it's too loud or not, pull it down or not, and it might seem like an easy decision, but so many times of testing, and I have a lot of friends, producers, who would export their track and listen to it in the car, listen to it on another stereo system somewhere else. And that's also a good checkup, using as many sound systems as you can. Really nice. But what you can do also is use the 4 dB rule. And I think I heard this somewhere on the internet, just by accident even, I think. It goes like this. So to actually decide if something is too loud, and let's say I had one of these elements, let's say this element, too loud, just like this. Now I know it's too loud because it just mixed it in almost properly, when I was showing you the last technique. So this is too loud. Now I'm gonna play the track. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this midliners group is too loud. How would I check that in an easy manner to make a really good decision on is it not or is it really? So I would pull this gain 4 decibels down. So if it's -5 at the moment, I'm going to just click right here and use my arrows on the keyboard and pull 1, 2, 3, 4 down. I'm going to play it again. And if I think I can still hear it well, that means that it was too loud. So let us play it. So I still think it's too loud. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull 4 dBs down. Another 4 dBs. Now that seems good, but okay, let's say again, I'm not really sure. I think it's maybe still too loud. I'm going to pull another 4 dBs. Now it doesn't really seem loud enough. So those 4 dBs of difference is actually going to help you decide on was it too loud or not. So now that I pulled another 4 dB and played it, I think it's not loud enough, meaning that most probably I was not right. So let's go back 3 dBs up, not the whole 4, let's go just back 3. That's nice. I actually like that. I like the actual relation of what it is now. And the point of this whole thing is that 4 dBs is enough of a change for you to actually hear a drastic change in volume and then decide if it was right decision or not. So meaning if I pull something 4 dBs down and then I see it's really too quiet, well, most probably I was not right. It wasn't too loud. Maybe I could pull down just a tiny bit, half a dB, 1 dB even. But the point is, if I pull down or up this volume, and that same 4 dB rule can be applied upwards, if I pull something 4 dBs up and it still doesn't seem too loud, that means that most probably I should have pulled the gain up. If I pull the gain down 4 dBs and it still sounds good, it doesn't sound too quiet, that means that I should have pulled the gain down. So those 4 dBs are actually going to just be enough of a difference for us to judge should the volume actually go down or up on a certain element. Now, as for level balancing, you will have to practice a lot to get a good mix. And aside of that, you will have to practice a lot with using equalizers and dynamics so that you can mix properly and that the signal that you are trying to mix in with others using the gain parameter is going to be something that can be mixed just using the gain parameter without, adding more processes. So practice in this case is paramount. Practice in anything doing with music production is really paramount. But another thing I would show you would be panning. And you can use panning and positioning sounds left and right to gain some clarity in your signal. So let's say in this group right here, I have these two sounds and they are both quite stereo. So they have those detuned sawtooths playing out of, Serum, of course. I really like Serum. So playing out of Serum, what I could do actually just to spread them up a little bit, and I can delete these processes I put on this, in the last lesson. So I could spread them out a tiny bit like this. How much? Well, that just decides it's your taste of how much you're gonna spread them out. But let's say I spread them out like this. One a little bit to the left, one a bit to the right. Now let's reset that. Now, since they're not both in the same kind of gain category, same volume, one of them is louder, I had to position the quieter one much more to the left to actually regain some kind of balance between the left and right speaker. I want the same amount of energy because this element is quite important for the whole song. So I want the same amount of energy out of the left and the right speaker, so I positioned the quieter sound more to the left, so it gains more energy, and I positioned the louder one a bit closer to the middle. So that now when I listen to the song, when I listen to only that element, I have approximately the same amount of energy on both of the channels. I could do the same thing with the drums. So panning the drums left and right, just like these, like the shaker and the tamp. Let's hear these two, like that. So one of these is a shaker, and one of those is a tambourine. Now, playing together, all in the middle. It's nice, those two make a good combination, but what I could do is actually pan one all the way to the left, one all the way to the left, all the way to the right, just like this, make a huge difference, and now I still have both of the elements. It's just that one of them is playing on one of the speakers and the other one on the other. Meaning that the speaker actually has an easier job reproducing the sound. If more of the sounds in the song are actually positioned left and right in the entire song, the speakers don't have to produce as many sounds at the same time. So the complexity of the sound being produced by each one of your boxes, the left and the right one, is going to be more simple, meaning that it's going to have more clarity in reproducing the sounds that it's assigned to reproduce. So spreading sounds left and right to actually gain clarity in the mix is also really good, since not all the things will be playing from both of the boxes. One of them will be playing from the left, one of them from the right, and you actually gain clarity in how you hear those sounds. So we can do even more like that. We can pan this a bit to the left, a bit to the right, a bit to the left, spread these sounds out, and by that extent, Like, nice, let's see this. One of the loops. Okay, this is just a clap. More to the left, more to the right. Just spread them out. Just like that. Sounds much nicer since I gave one of the speakers always a break in playing just a little bit less at least of one of the sounds and actually spread them out left and right, positioning them in different places in the soundstage, in my virtual soundstage I'm creating. Hence I have more clarity when I play them back to a listener. Now, when talking about level balancing and panning left and right, one thing you have to be sure of is that a part of your frequencies, a part of your mix should be mono. You should make sure that the low portion of the frequencies of your song is monoed out. It's mono. So my kick and my bass are mono completely, but at least in the low frequencies they have to be. They don't have to be in the upper part. Let's see, I have another layer for the bass, this one. So this layer of the bass, which only plays the high frequencies, I can actually do something to it to make it more stereo. So I could add some stereo effects, just like, let's say, this one. And let me just do this dimension. This is actually going to do the Haas effect as much as I know. It's just going to move one of the channels, the left or the right, and delay it compared to the other one. So we're going to have an illusion of stereo. Now, with something like this, really clicky and punchy, like this sound, you see, it's very stereo when I do that, and that's gonna add to the stereo feeling in my bass, although my bass doesn't have any stereo. So this, what actually plays the low frequencies, the low frequency content of the bass, completely mono. So I'm keeping the low portion of my song, the low frequencies in my song, mono. And I also made sure that that happens using this equalizer on the master, but we will talk about that. So to conclude, you have different approaches to mixing, but the best advice I can give you is always try to introduce new elements from silence upwards. If you're not sure when the track is mixed, if one of the elements is too quiet or too loud, make the 4 dB change. So if you think it's too loud, pull it 4 dBs down and see if it still can hear it normally. If you still can hear it normally, probably was too loud. And if you think it's too quiet and you pull it up and you see that now you can hear it normally, although you pulled up 4 dBs, then it probably was too quiet. So those 4 dBs are going to help you make a good judgment, a good decision. Try to spread out your sounds left and right, as I've told you, with different elements, because you're going to be making room, making space, at least for the speakers to be able to reproduce the sounds with more clarity. Plus the stereo image is going to be nicer and you're going to make a much nicer and more interesting soundstage. Make sure that the low frequencies in your song are mono, that are always in the center. And another thing, most important one when mixing, is what should have priority in this mix. What should be the loudest, the most noticeable thing? Doesn't have to be the loudest per se, but the most noticeable thing when I play this song should be the lead sound. So whatever at that point in the song has priority. Our brains work in such a way that one thing has priority over others. We can only concentrate on that one element basically. So you have to decide which element is going to have priority at which point in the track. So when this lead starts playing, let me play that solo for you. That lead for me, in my mind, needs to take over. The priority needs to be the main thing that the listener is going to be concentrating on. So I do not mix this lead in as something that's in the background. I mix it into really overtake over everything. So I want it to be loud enough so that it becomes the main thing you're listening to. In the context of the whole song, So as you see, it is the loudest thing in the mix. It is the most noticeable thing in the mix, at least. Doesn't have to be loudest, as I said. It needs to be the most noticeable thing that's going to take away the attention of the listener. So always keep in mind that you need to be aware at any point in the mix what has the priority. If the song was a vocal song, a pop song, the vocal needs to have priority all the time. But once the vocal is not there, something will take over. It's either going to be the keyboard or maybe just the drum solo, maybe the bass, depending on what the song is, but it's always a thing that has priority, and when you're mixing, you need to be aware of that because you need to make that one element stand out compared to the rest of the track.